aloha in our day. Spread a little aloha around the world at Breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Pancho Man. Welcome back to Breakfast with Bob, our Nice World Championship edition. My name is Bob Babbitt, and we are brought to you by Master Spas. As fuels go longer, HOKA Fly Human Fly, Deboer Wetsuits, Quintana, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest is actually celebrating a pretty amazing 10-year anniversary. Her name is Els Visser. She's one of our favorites to be up there on the potentially in the podium at World Championship Nice. And 10 years ago, in August, your life changed forever. When you look back at that, it's hard to celebrate something like that when you almost died. But at the same time, you're celebrating the fact that look at what you've created since then.
Yes, exactly. It was in August 10 years ago that we were shipwrecked. And actually, two of the German girls who were with me on the boat, they visited me here in Switzerland, in St. Moritz. To celebrate life, and it was just like wonderful to see them again and also to bring back some memories, but then also celebrate our like successes over the last 10 years. And it has been like an incredible journey, and it was also a really nice moment to reflect on that.
When you go through something like that, most people would just be kissing the ground, happy they were alive. I need to do something audacious. I need to do something. I've been given a second chance on life, and without a swim, bike, or run background, you decided I'm going to become a professional triathlete. How did that jump into your mind?
Yeah, well, I heard about Ironman racing, and when I heard about it, I didn't know about it at all, but I started watching videos, and that really inspired me because you just see like all the athletes there giving their absolute best out on course, just suffering like physically and mentally, like challenging themselves. And then once they cross that finish line, there are like so many emotions and it's so overwhelming. It's such a big achievement for every athlete being out there on course. And I was just like wondering if I like could finish an Ironman myself, and then also like what I would feel crossing that finish line and the emotions it would like give to me. And I was just like interested in that, in that race, and I thought, well, let's just give it a go, and let's see if I can finish an Ironman myself and get that feeling.
And the idea was just to finish an Ironman, not to become, I'm going to become the best in the world. And no, it was just
not at all.
Yeah.
No, I was working in a hospital doing my PhD, and it was just something I wanted to experience. Let's see if I can finish an Ironman. And also I wasn't like competitive at all, or not like focused on my time or performance. So it was just okay to see if I could do it or not. But yeah, I discovered the talent, but it was also like really a passion I found. And I just like loved the sport straight away from the beginning.
And I know you're working on a film on your life, and basically just when I saw one line in there, you survived to tell the story, which is really what it's all about. How hard was that, reliving that? It's one thing to celebrate with the people who've also survived, but having to go, did you go back to Indonesia? Did you go back to where this all occurred?
Yeah, so last year in 2023, first I raced the Ironman in New Zealand, and I won that race, which was like pretty emotional because the week after I met Gaylin for the first time, the lady I swam with, to the island. And we had like a wonderful week in Golden Bay in New Zealand and just celebrated life, and it was just great to see her. And then the week after I flew to Indonesia and actually to the island I swam to. And it was like once it was like really nice, and I was just like really grateful. I do this like with Red Bull, and I was just grateful that they took me there and that I could kind of relive it, and also like could feel that it actually really happened to me and that it was real. And I could also like feel the danger again of the ocean, and it was just a moment that I could kind of relive the accident. And also it was also kind of like really beautiful to go there and to feel again, oh, I'm like so thankful that I'm still here and I have this other opportunity of life and like make the most out of it.
When it's right, the boat gets submerged, you guys you could stay in a raft, a little raft, or you could try to swim to an atoll, swim somewhere. You saw a spot of land out there.
Yes, that's
and,
right.
I think your mentality was, I'd rather swim than just sit here. And, I'd rather take this into my own hands. How many people went with you in swimming?
So we left with 5, but in the end, I continued to swim with one other woman, and I arrived on the island with just her. So it was basically the 2 of us who, made the whole swim together.
Wow, so the other 3 didn't make it.
The other 3, they made it as well, but they arrived like on a different spot on the island, and they were a bit slower than we were.
Yes.
But in the end, they also made it, yes. And then after us, there were like 2 Spanish guys who started swimming as well. And maybe they left 1 or 2 hours after us, and they have never been found. So I think maybe something or that the currents changed or something else happened. We don't know.
And people think swimming, you were basically with a life jacket on, laying on your back, kicking. We're not talking
that's right.
Swimmer at that point.
No, and the life jacket really helped us to like stay afloat and to have the buoyancy. But also, I think in the end, even if you're like the Olympic gold medalist in open water swimming, the ocean decides, and it's so strong and so powerful, it's so unpredictable. Yes. The currents, especially around that island where we swam to, they are, really, really strong. So I think even like the best swimmer in the world you feel comfortable in the water, but sometimes it doesn't mean a lot if you're like a really good swimmer.
Well,
fighting against the power of the ocean.
5 hours into the swim, you finally start to see trees on the island. You're 500 yards from the shore, and then there's the riptide. So now you're basically swimming in place for who knows how long. When your feet finally touch the sand, can you remember what that feeling was like?
Yeah, it was like such a big relief, and I was like so happy to have like land under my feet, because like I was so afraid in the water. I was like so scared, and it was just terrible, and also it was cold, and I was like worried about my body temperature, and it's just not our own habitat, to be in the water. So to be finally out of the water was a really big relief, and also a little moment of celebration. But
yes.
In the meantime, we also knew that we had to survive the island as well, because it was volcanic. There were no people there, and that we also had to find a way to survive the island.
Yeah, I mean, there's no food, there's no water, there's no shelter. You made a visor to protect your face, which was all blistered. You guys are naked, you're drinking your own urine, and then did you spot a boat just out in the middle of the ocean, or out in the middle?
So we slept there for a night, and in the morning after we spotted the boat, and we tried to reach their attention by waving with our life jackets. But then initially, like, the boat kept going and was just out of sight again. And it took a few more hours, and then actually the same boat reappeared. But this time it was coming towards us, and they spotted us.
I love that one line. I'd rather die fighting, right? Than sitting there and not knowing. You'd rather die fighting. And just when you got into this silly sport of triathlon, what was the toughest thing for you? Learning to swim, riding the bike, running, because you really had a background in nothing.
Well, actually, I think I really approached it with an open mind, and I just really enjoyed it and loved it. And when you start having no background in any of them, you just improve, you just only have to train and you get better. So, of course, maybe it was kind of challenging, but also because I got better and better, because I actually started training. It was also really, it was like really fluent. And then maybe only after a few years in the sport, then I started to find out, actually I can get injuries as well. And this is also like part of the sport, to get obstacles and to overcome them. But in the first few months, it was all like just being on like a pink cloud.
And I look at like 2018, or by 2018, just a couple years after this accident, you're already, winning Ironman Netherlands, you're 4th in Malaysia, 2nd at Challenge Almere, 4th at Ironman Australia. I mean, these are really impressive results. And the one thing I've noticed just over the last few years, and then was 2019 your first time in Kona? Yeah.
That's right, yes.
16th, first time at the World Championship. I mean, and then you were 7th at Challenge Roth, which is basically one of the top events on the planet. And what was your first win as a pro?
That was, yes, actually the Ironman I won in the Netherlands in 2018.
Okay.
Yes.
So cool. That's so cool to see what you're. And then the other thing, I'm looking at the last couple of years, and this year, I think already you've done 11 races this year. Is that feasible? You've done a ton.
Yes, maybe even 12. I don't even know.
I'm looking at it like you won Challenge Taiwan, you won Philippines, you won Wanaka, fifth at Hamburg. And the impressive part to me is when you start running sub 3 hours for the marathon, right? When you start going 2:57 at Hamburg, 2:55 at Roth, and getting third at Challenge Roth, which is, one of the greatest races on the planet. Going into World Championship Nice, how are you feeling? Are you feeling, because that's a lot of racing. Are you feeling ready?
It is. Well, actually, I think I've done a lot of racing, and I know that a lot of athletes around me and coaches, they're thinking, oh, it's way too much, and she's like destroying her body, and you can't do that. But actually, I think I get stronger each race, and I need the races to get fitter. And it's not that I taper a lot going into a race and like straight after the race I actually continue my training. So actually I really believe that each race makes me stronger for the next one. And like the build up I've had in the first few months of this year, was only like a really good preparation heading into Nice. And I'm super excited now to line up against the best in the world again and to give my absolute best. I'm also excited that it's in France, and of course, like Kona, it's very magical, but I think it's also cool to race in Nice. And I feel ready.
You're more than ready. And the thing that makes Nice different is the climbing and also the descending. Have you been working on that?
Well, I'm training here in the Swiss mountains, so yeah, surely I do a lot of climbing. I haven't been to Nice actually, so I haven't seen the course yet, but I still think I have some time next week to explore like the downhills a little. And in the end, I think, yes, of course, like the climbing is like a really important part, and also the downhills. But in the end, it's a really tough course, I believe. So I think also a lot comes down in the end to the marathon and who's really the one who's the toughest out there that day, and really still having enough energy left to run a good marathon.
And last year you were 15th at Ironman World Championship, and so now you got another World Championship coming up. How, when you look at just coming from really no sport around you, and as you said, every day you just get a little better and a little better and a little better. Was there a point with the pro races? It's one thing to be a pro. There's another thing to be a pro who can be competitive, right? And can be the best. What race was it? Or was it just a series of races that made you believe, you know what, I could be the best at this?
I think maybe from last year that I started to really have some like great results, and also in like more competitive fields.
Yes.
And also like what we saw in the training, what I did and how I improved in my training. And that was kind of the moment that my coach also said, okay, now I think we can like really, you'll be at that international level. You are a world-class athlete now. You can compete with the best in the world. And I also am realistic, that I'm still not competitive with like really the best and the best in the world, but I also see it as a challenge to keep working and keep challenging myself to eventually get there.
When does your movie come out?
So it's not clear yet, but it will be sometime this year, either October, November, December. So very soon, but I don't have the exact release date.
And with you working on the film, are you still working as a doctor, or is this full time now, triathlon?
Triathlon is full time, but I'm still involved with some companies within like the medical world, and they focus more on like public health, prevention of diseases, and sometimes I do some webinars for them, trying to inspire people to pay attention to nutrition and have like healthy lifestyles, have active health lifestyles. And before I was always focused in surgery, but now it's more my mission to actually get people out of the hospital, so we don't have to like treat them anymore, and just prevent the diseases. And I think it's a really important part. And yeah, also in the end, I think that's what brings most happiness. You know, if people are active, have like healthy lifestyles, then they feel like just good in their bodies, and then they're happy people. And I think that's in the end what we all want.
What would it mean to you 10 years after this terrific accident to end up on the podium at the Ironman World Championship in Nice?
Well, of course, yeah, that would mean like the world to me, yeah, that would be like such a big achievement. But to be honest, for me, it's not just about the results and finishing on the podium. And if I look back now to the last 10 years and all like the achievements I had and all the self-improvement I underwent, then I'm like already so proud. And if I can put together a really good race where I can like be proud of, then that already means the world to me, you know, and it's not related to a third place or a 10th place.
When you met up with the woman who you swam with and ended up on the island with, what did you guys chat about?
Well, mostly, of course, we like chatted about like what happened to us, and it was also interesting that we both had like really different experiences. So I heard new things, and she heard new things with my story. But it was also really about just enjoying the time together. We had a wonderful week in Golden Bay. We did a lot of hiking. We did camping on the beach. We did kayaking in the ocean. And it was very inspiring for me to actually meet her, because during those 2 days I was with her in Indonesia, I didn't really knew her as a person. We were like in such a survival mode. And now I finally had the opportunity to actually get to know her. And she was like such an inspiring woman, and there are not like many people I admire, but she's like really a woman. I thought, oh yes, I really admire you about like who you are and what you've been doing in your life, and yeah, just the way how she's living. So it was a very cool experience.
The bond that you two guys have will last for the rest of your lives. I mean, that who has something like that? That is very, very special. And to be able to be friends and come back 10 years later and know that you guys will, you know, meet up on occasion. And when you, it's like one of those friendships, when you meet up, you'll be starting from where you left off the last time, right? That's one of those special friendships that you'll have forever. That's one byproduct that's pretty damn cool. Besides the fact that you become one of the best triathletes on the planet.
Yes.
Els, thank you so much for taking time to chat. I think your story just inspires so many people out there to understand that you can come back from the absolute worst moment of your life and do something totally outrageous, totally different, and find greatness. We see that all the time with our Challenge Athletes, Foundation athletes who lose a limb or they're paralyzed. Next thing you know, they're going to the Paralympics and achieving a dream they never had before. You never had this dream of being an athlete. When you talk to your parents after this happened 10 years ago and said, you know what, I have this new goal. I want to be an athlete, a professional athlete. After you go through all the schooling to become a doctor, what did they say?
Well, actually, they're like super, super supportive in like whatever I do, and they always like say, okay, if that's like what feels good for you, then trust your feelings, and we are behind you, and we are with you in your journey, and fully support you in that. So they are, yes, super, super supportive.
Love it. Els, thank you so much for taking time. Best of luck in Nice. I wish we could be there in person to watch you, but I just have this gut you're going to have a great race there.
Thanks so much, Bob.
Els Visser has been our guest. Again, Breakfast with Bob, our Ironman World Championship edition from Nice. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. See ya.
See ya.